Hi everybody, and welcome back to my videos, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble, whichever one you happen to be watching this on. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about the recent Sydney Sweeney interview, since that's been trending lately, and I saw a couple people react to it and give their thoughts on it, so you can just search them videos. I've spoken to Samantha, is one person, and many other conservative channels, people like that. So, because here are my thoughts, okay? So, the interview brought up the ad that Sydney Sweeney was in a couple of months ago, that American Eagle ad, which sparked a lot of controversy because of the comment about great genes. Okay? Now, the interview said, in the interview, the one who was giving the interview said that it was inappropriate to make a joke about genetic superiority in this political climate. The problem is, that ad said nothing about genetic superiority. Okay? That ad said nothing about genetic superiority. Sydney Sweeney said she has great genes. No, and hers are blue. That's all she said. Okay? Critics are the only ones reading racism into that. Okay? I believe that it is projection. I believe these people are projecting their own feelings. Because think about, how do you interpret? I mean, why else would you interpret that commercial? These genes are great genes, and hers are blue, as being racist and white supremacy propaganda. How do you interpret that unless that's how you feel about white people yourself? Unless you feel that white people are a superior race, which is why you read that into that ad that Sydney Sweeney was in a couple months ago. Okay? How do you read racism, white supremacy propaganda, Nazism, because they called her a Nazi too, and this was right after that ad, and right after I saw a post on Twitter that said the only good Nazi is a dead one. So, with these names like that, and then once again comparing Sydney Sweeney to Hitler again and Nazi, this could potentially put her life in danger. Somebody might decide to take matters into their hand. Somebody might decide to assassinate Sydney Sweeney because of this, because these are the same name callings that got Charlie Kirk killed. Okay, it's the same logic. Okay, it's the same way. It's the same type of thinking. Okay? So that ad that Sydney was in a couple months ago, American Eagle jeans ad, literally said nothing about white supremacy, about white people being the superior race. Okay? She said nothing about that. Okay? Said nothing about that. She never said that she had great genes because she was white with blonde hair and blue eyes. That's not why she says that. Okay, that's not what was said. Nothing in that ad had anything to do with white supremacy. Okay. In fact, I believe that people who actually are racist and actually are white supremacists, they are the ones projecting their own racism into that ad and they're virtue signaling. Okay? Because a normal person would see that ad and wouldn't think nothing of it, wouldn't find anything racist about it. Okay? You would have to be crazy to read racism into that where racism doesn't exist. See, you have to be projecting your own racism into that. Okay? And what I like best about that is the way Sydney Sweeney handled that. Like, Sydney Sweeney didn't even take the bait, and she handled it better than anybody would have. Probably, I would assume. I mean, you have to have a lot of patience to not snap at such a ridiculous question with such a ridiculous premise like that. Because that wasn't a joke about genetic superiority. Nobody said any jokes, anything like that. And Sydney Sweeney responds with basically, if it's such an effect of, if I had something to say, I'd say it. Those weren't her exact words, but she did say something along those lines. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, see, the interviewer made it sound like that she was giving Sydney Sweeney an opportunity to apologize. Bringing up, Donald Trump liked your post and shared it on Truth Social. And then trying to connect that to enable people believe that Donald Trump was racist. But people believe that the ad was racist anyways. Ironically, that criticism is probably why Trump shared that ad in the first place, because the way he was getting criticized. Okay, just by crazy people. Okay? I mean, Sydney Sweeney was very patient, I don't know how anybody could be so patient in response to that. It's such a ridiculous question. In fact, I probably would have just walked out of the interview. If anything at all. Because that was just because that ad had nothing to do with white supremacy. People were projecting their own racism into that, okay? I mean, you would have to be projecting your own racism under Sydney Sweeney to read racism into that. Because I personally believe that all of that is virtue signaling. Same thing with any so-called racist dog whistle. Okay? I mean, they can't explain. Now, if dog whistles do exist, like if there were actually dog whistles, then I'm going to assume that where dog whistles actually do exist, you'd be able to explain how you know that's what they meant. For example, that ad, that Twitter post that said the only good Nazi is a dead one. That's coming from the same people who calls Trump supporters Nazis. So, that statement by itself, I mean, most people would probably agree with that. That statement in and of itself doesn't sound that bad until you realize that the context of it is that the people who said that, who post that stuff like that on Twitter, they're actually referring to Trump supporters as Nazis. And anybody who does something that they offend them, that offends them as Nazis. Therefore, when it says the only good Nazi is a dead one, again, if there is a dog whistle, if dog whistles do exist, then that post right there, that Twitter post, has a dog whistle calling for violence against MAGA. If dog whistles do exist. And we know this because the left has been referring to MAGA as Nazis and Trump as Hitler for years now. Okay? I mean, it's gotten to the point where where these names have lost their original meaning. And Sydney Sweeney knows how ridiculous this claim is. And she calmly shut down that conversation. It's amazing that she didn't just walk out. It's also amazing that she didn't just snap. And a lot of people on the left are getting offended by that, making it sound like that she basically admitted to being Hitler. She's basically facing criticism about that again, even though she didn't do anything wrong. That ad, she did nothing wrong. I mean, she's just standing her ground as she should. She didn't do nothing wrong. She doesn't owe anybody an explanation, and she knows that. Okay, so these people are getting offended at nothing. Okay? They're getting offended at nothing. They're making up stuff to get offended by. That's what it seems like. They're making up stuff to get offended by. I mean, a blue jeans ad. They're reading racism into that, really? They're seeing racist dog business, really? These people could get offended by anything and everything. Okay, so there was nothing racist about that Sydney Sweeney ad whatsoever. Okay? Anybody who sees racism is projecting their own racism into that ad. Okay? Sydney Sweeney handled that interview perfectly. Okay? Better than probably anybody would. It's the way that she handled it. Because you would have to have a lot of patience to handle it like that. It takes a lot of patience. Well, I'm going to end this video right here. Bye.